Welcome to the season finale Scott Sports Show. I am your host, Tyler Trumbauer. The football team just wrapped up spring camp, as you heard them early in the mornings at Sox Harrison Stadium over the month of April. I'm now joined by defensive coordinator Wayne Bradford to talk about the camp and more with the football team. Coach Bradford, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Normally Coach Browning's the one that has to deal with me, but it's nice seeing you every once in a while, you know?
Thank you. It's great seeing you as well.
So, Coach, let's start. There's been a lot of talk about the offense, with the new offensive coordinator, Vinny Marino, and the quarterback competition that's starting and will ensue over the summer. So let's check in with the defense. What is your initial thoughts of them after seeing them for the first month of spring?
I thought we had a very productive camp. We feel like we're going to be pretty good in the front seven. We were able to get a lot of work for some of the young guys up front. Dominic Principali is really our lone starter on the defensive line, coming off an injury, but was able to make it all the way through camp. And Michael Shansky's moved from Mike to Will, done a tremendous job in that position. And we were able to bring in a couple of guys mid-year, two guys that are going to be greatly impacting us. Number one is Gabriel Tillman, a linebacker originally from Pittsburgh, went to the Marines, is a former Marine, then went to junior college. He's projected as our starting linebacker and brings a lot of experience and leadership. And we have another young man who transferred in with him from Columbus, Charles McLemore, at the corner position. So those two guys are going to be fit some big needs for us.
So there's certainly some new names, some key players to look out for this season. You mentioned cornerback. Secondary was a big area of need last season. That was something that opponents exploited a lot.
Mm-hmm.
If they were able to escape the pressure you sent up the middle on the line in that front seven, the secondary is a little bit of a weaker point. So is that something you're really stressing on? Obviously, you already did in recruiting. So what are your thoughts going into improving the secondary?
Well, number one, Devon Groves, who played as a true freshman, got quite a bit of experience and had a very good spring. He's got to get bigger and stronger, but he's a very smart player. As we said, Charles McLemore coming in with 2 years of junior college experience. And we're going to have probably 8 to 10 skill kids coming in as freshmen, so we'll be youthful again, but we feel pretty good about the numbers and the quality of people we brought in the secondary.
Certainly. Let's jump off the defense for a second. As I mentioned in the opening, a lot of offensive talk right now with head coach Vinny Marino coming in, the third different offensive coordinator in as many seasons. As a coach that's been here for a long time, how's that been getting Marino to gel in with the staff, and how has his transition been to now being a Fighting Scot?
I think Vinny's done a great job. He comes from the Boston College camp where they preach physical, hard-nosed, blue-collar football. I think that's the mentality and the attitude that we have to take. So I think we'll be committed to the run. And obviously, if you can run the football, that really helps you in today's day and age, keeping the opponents off the field. And I think he understands that offensively, defensively, and special teams, we have to help each other. So if the offense can possess the ball and run the football, that takes some pressure off of us defensively. Defensively, if we can stop the run and create turnovers and get the ball back to the offense, that creates opportunities for the offense. And then ultimately, if we can play great special teams, the addition of Austin Reese at kicker is really going to help us greatly.
Certainly, I'm glad you mentioned the time of possession and the everyone helping each other out, each unit. Something that was drastically overlooked last season. I don't have the statistics in front of me, but there were a lot of 3-and-outs on the offensive side of the ball. So no one really quite understands that the defense spent a heck of a lot of time and snaps on the field. Is something as endurance and just longevity on the field you work on, or is that just something they kind of have to get accustomed to each week during the season?
Well, obviously in the fall, we take a lot of pride in being a great conditioned team. So we probably condition 2 or 3 days a week, all the way up until the 8th or 9th week of the season when we feel like we got to back off a little bit. But with the offenses that we've had, we've been a no-huddle offense, so we see it every day in practice. Most of our guys are in pretty good shape. If you watch us defensively, we're not the biggest unit, but we are in pretty good shape, and we do run pretty well. So in recruiting and our style of defense, we feel like we're prepared to play the spread offenses of today's game.
One individual we talked about players earlier on was Jamal Evillard. He was a freshman last year, safety recruit. He came a long way to Edinboro, down from Florida, and you were thinking he was going to be your guy to be able to plug in, but now he's going to be moved to the backfield of the offense and playing some running back for the Scots this season. What did you see from him as a recruiter? So I know you saw him in high school and some different things. How do you feel he's going to be able to make that transition really back to what he was doing in high school?
Yeah, Jamal is a very talented running back. He is very difficult to tackle in space because he has great lateral movement and quickness, but he's also very difficult to tackle in between the tackles because he has great pad level, never stops moving his feet, and he's pretty tough. He brings a defensive mentality to running the football. He attacks tacklers. He attacks the line of scrimmage. So he's going to help us greatly on defense by possessing the ball on offense and wearing defensive down. So he'll be a special player.
Certainly. So you're losing him, but he's gaining, the offense is gaining him and really helping you in the long run as well, going to the back position. From a whole team perspective, you mentioned you're going to have a lot of young guys on the defense, and it's going to be a pretty youthful team overall. Do you feel that's a positive coming off a rough season, like a 3-8 season? You feel now that we have new blood, they don't remember the ups and downs and the woes of last season? You feel that's a positive?
Well, I think anytime you bring in a large freshman class, obviously the thing that they're focused on is the present and the future. So they weren't a part of whatever happened in 2014. So I think they all come from successful high school programs, and they're not thinking about anything but competing for jobs and winning. And I also think that this spring we probably have as close and unified a football team as we've had in a long time. So I'm very encouraged and excited about the makeup of our team from a family standpoint, from a unity standpoint. If you love one another and care about one another, you'll win a lot of football games.
Certainly, and obviously having a full coaching staff, including an offensive coordinator in the spring, will certainly help that cohesion as a unit. Going into the summer now, you have a little bit of a break. You're preparing for training camp as a coaching staff. What is going to undergo in the summer? Obviously, there will be an offensive quarterback competition, but as a unit and for your defensive unit specifically, what will you be having them doing, having them preparing as you hit those dog days of July and August?
Sure. Well, first off, as a staff, we've already watched all 3 games that we have on our first opponent. So we are already way into game planning for St. Joseph's. So we've watched all the tape. We've got all the tape cut up. And with the internet now and the different software packages, our young men can watch film of our opponent all summer. So obviously from a mental standpoint, hopefully they're watching a lot of tape on St. Joe's, and we're getting that game plan done fairly quickly. From a physical standpoint, once they finish finals this week, they should be diving right into their workout regimen. And obviously the most important thing we think of in the summer is not only lifting weights, but your conditioning. And not only your conditioning, but football specific. There's one thing about running, but you're going to be in a 3-point stance for 4 hours a day. You just don't come in and put your hand on the ground and be in a particular stance or in a back pedal. So make sure you're doing football movements and not only conditioning, but doing football-specific conditioning.
And having the pads on, too, that adds on to different things as well. I mean, I had the pads on. I was a kicker, so I don't really understand any of that.
They don't wear pads.
They don't wear pads. No, they're the smallest ones you can find.
That's
Mine
right.
actually said Fisher-Price on them, to be honest with you. So, Coach, thanks for joining me. Good luck this summer, and you'll be ready to go on the sidelines in September against St. Joseph's.
Absolutely. Can everybody come out and see us Thursday night?
Yep, that'll be Thursday, September 3rd. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff at Sox Harrison Stadium as Borough football is looking to improve on its 3-8 season. We're going to hit a quick break, and we'll be back as the Scott Sports Show rolls along. Last month, the university's athletic department's SAC held a student-athlete auction. Now the department is getting ready for another auction, but this one will be selling actual objects. I'm now joined by Associate Athletic Director Todd Jay to fill us in a little bit more about the upcoming sports memorabilia auction. Mr. Jay, starting off now, this upcoming, rapidly approaching, is the memorabilia auction will be on May 27th, in Erie. Tell us a little bit more about that. Why is it coming about? It's been going on for a while, but for maybe some that have just hearing about it now?
It literally has been 20 years since the idea was originated. It goes back to 1995. This is a biannual event, Tyler. It's just so much work. You really can't. You call in so many favors. You call in so many chips. So many of the items are donated, and it would be impossible to do every year. So it's every other year. So this is the 11th time that we've done it. We have moved it. It started out, of all things, up at Culbertson Hills. We had it on campus. It now has grown to the point where it's at the Ambassador Center, the Marriott up in Erie, and it gets underway that night on the 27th at 5 o'clock is when the doors open.
Certainly, so biannual event, but you don't need it every year because the magnitude of this thing will make people wait for every other year, because it's definitely worth it, as this does benefit scholarships for Edinboro,
Right.
certainly. So. And then also you have some big key people this year. Marquise Pouncey, going to be
Right.
of Pittsburgh
Right.
Steeler, is going to be the big signee this year. Talk about him and some other notable names that might be stopping by that night.
Well, we have a special appearance is going to be by Mike Rupp, and of course hockey fans would know him as a former Penguin. Of course, won the Stanley Cup with New Jersey. I believe it was 2003. But Mike is trying to get into the broadcast world now after all the years. I think he played as many as 12 years in the NHL. But he had heard about the event. He's real good friends with Pat Hargis from downtown at the Edinboro Hotel, and he literally approached me to MC the event. So he is going to be there. He will sign. Now, he's not going to be as part of the public signing like Pouncey is, but he'll be at the reception, and he was great. When I met with him the other day, he was like, "I'll do anything that you want, Todd." And it's brought a hockey flavor, to the event. We've always had, of course, I would love to have baseball players. It's during their season, and that's why it's impossible to really get them here. You have to have it in the middle of the week, because on the weekends, as you know, this time of the year, everything is full with weddings or whatever. So we always have it in the middle of the week. But Pouncey will be there to sign. We'll sell autograph tickets that night at the event. It's $20 for a flat item and $50 for a premium. So if you bring in a helmet or you bring in a jersey, you'll have to pay $50 for the autograph. Now, we pay him a significant amount of money to walk through the door, and if it wasn't for the sponsors that I have at the event, there's a meet and greet beforehand that the sponsors are at. If they weren't so generous, and we would not be able to hold it. There is no budget for it. Every dime that we give out in terms of expenses, we have to raise. So the event itself, I mean, in years past, from Jim Kelly to Jerome Bettis to Franco Harris to as recently as Antonio Brown and Ryan Clark 2 years ago, there's a lot of big name people that have been through there, and but it's a great event because, as you said, Tyler, all the proceeds benefit the scholarship program. So there'll be silent auction items. We'll live item probably maybe 40 pieces. Silent will probably 220, something like that. But it'll go on from 5 o'clock once the doors open until roughly 10 o'clock that night. So it's a big event, but it's all for good cause.
Certainly it is. I know you talked about that. It's at you can get tickets that night for the different auctions and stuff like that. Is there any pre-sale tickets or anything that people can get, and if so, how would they go about that?
There are. They can go through Denise Dobis in our athletic department. They can call 732-1824 or just come by the athletic department, and my number is 1835 on campus, and I'll give you all the information that you need. We never sell it out. There's a huge walk-up crowd. We probably won't sell in advance any more than 50 or 60 tickets, but there'll be 250 people or 300 people there. Erie is a huge walk-up crowd. I mean, and we'll promote it hard between now and then. That's our plan. And
starting here.
Yeah, right, exactly. No, this is I'm going on Channel 12, who's one of our sponsors of it. I'm going on this week to tape the show for this weekend, but between the cooperation we get here internally from Bill Berger and from Tina Mangine, we get the publicity from the university too. We're going to be on billboards, and we're going to be out there, so we need to tell the world about it so we get people there.
Certainly, and as you mentioned, this is all for the Scholarship Foundation and different thing for Edinboro University Athletics. Just how important is this? And really, you don't do much else for that other than this auction. It's kind of, this is a big thing to generate revenue for the scholarships. Just kind of how important, because a lot of people want to know maybe where their money's going.
Well, that's true. I mean, we have what we call a lot of labor-intensive events. I mean, our summer camp business in terms of raising money for scholarships, that's our mainstay. That's the foundation of the money that we raise, from soccer camps to athletic camps. But during the year, whether it be golf outings or things of labor-intensive events like this, but we have to do so many because that's the only way that we can survive or keep the status quo, going, or to give more scholarship money is to hold events like this. But the Edinboro University Foundation, student government, those are two other sponsors that are helping. So I thank you and I thank all the students for backing that too. So, if it wasn't for those sponsors, we're not able to get this thing kicked off. But it's a great event. It's just so nice to see kids, little kids that are interacting with, professional athletes, and overall it's just a great night.
A lot of headlining people, and it's for a great cause that'll just make you want to come out itself regardless of who it is, who's there signing in this year. It is Marquise Pouncey from the Pittsburgh Steelers. So again, the sports memorabilia auction is Wednesday, May 27th at the Marriott Hotel in Erie. Starts at 5 p.m.
Right.
All proceeds benefit the Edinboro scholarships, as we talked about. Mr. J, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
And then we're going to take another break, and on the other side, I will be joined by head track and field coach Annie Carlson to recap the PSAC championships. The men's and women's track and field teams competed at the PSAC championships last week at East Stroudsburg University. Head track and field coach Annie Carlson joins me now to recap the championships. Coach, so it was a nice couple of days out at East Stroudsburg. See,
Gorgeous.
I'm from the East, so I understand what it's like out there, and I'm glad that you got to enjoy some of it too. And so I talked, Corey, who we'll hear from later in the show, said that he really enjoyed it. It's one less thing to worry about. As a coach, does that change your strategy or mentality at all when it's you don't have to worry about like rain, wind, and maybe even snow?
I'd say it makes it easier because there's definitely times that when it's colder, when it's rainy, when it's stuff like that, it is extra on us to have to get them ready, to explain to it, make sure everybody is warm enough, that they're warming up long enough, that they have dry clothes for after they warm up, all that type of stuff. So it takes that element out of it. And it just, as we've said over and over again, when the sun is shining, everyone's happier. So it just kind of makes it easier that we don't have that added issue of the weather. And wow, was it gorgeous. I mean, zero complaints, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You brought some back to Edinboro.
Yes,
I think
you're welcome, everyone.
Everyone is enjoying it on campus this week as well, the nice weather. So let's start off with the women's team at the PSACs. Had a pretty successful 3 days there. Mm-hmm. What was your message to them? What was some big goals that you were hoping to achieve, maybe as a team or with some specific individuals?
We don't really have the depth, especially when we get outdoors. There's added events. It's a bigger meet than the indoor meet, and obviously our team doesn't get any bigger. So it's harder, we have a lot of very talented girls and guys too, we're talking about the guys side, but unfortunately they can only be spread so thin. If you look at some of our relays and stuff, we're using the exact same kids over and over again in multiple open events and multiple relays and stuff. So it just gets harder for us to kind of be that top notch as a team. As individuals though, they, far outseeded our expectations. We have Brianne Dietrich won the heptathlon with a stadium record. We had multiple all-conference performers, and Allison Gibbons in the open 800, and then also in the 4x8, she ran that team from 8th to 3rd in those last 2 laps. So that was huge. Emma Sullivan was 3rd in the 10K, which was big. She also came back. Her and Anna Hassel both scored in the 10K as well, or in the 5K as well later in that meet. So that's a lot of laps if anybody's counting there for those girls to run to score points for us though, but it's huge that we have kids that are willing to do that.
They were working hard over those few days certainly, and Allison Gibbons, you mentioned her great last leg there in the relay, earned her female Scott of the Week, as we'll hear from her later on this show too. For Dietrich and them, obviously winning the heptathlon, she's good at those multi-events, and that's what she does. Was that her goal coming in, was to take that first place finish, and also how is she looking for nationals right now?
Right now she is on the national list in the heptathlon, but probably will not get in. We will not have time to do another one, as next Sunday is the last day for national qualifying, and you just can't do back-to-back multis. She is still in the top 10 in the long jump though, so she will qualify in the long jump, where she was an All-American indoors. So she will qualify, should qualify there. We can never say for sure till that list comes out, but should qualify in the long jump.
Certainly it's tough. I know Corey is a little short of nationals in his 800 despite being the PSAC champion in that one. So speaking of Corey, talking about him and his comrades on the men's track and field team, a lot of nice finishes. Deontay Powell came in with nice. We had some relays get some really high finishes as well. What did you see from the male Fighting Scots?
It's very exciting to go to the outdoor conference meet with our guys because they don't get to do the indoor conference meet. The girls get it, so not that it's not exciting on their side too, but it's just exciting for them to get that championship feel, and they really get up for it. Like you said, Deontay Powell had a huge meet, competed the 1, the 2, and the 4 for us. Unfortunately, didn't make finals in the 1, but placed in the 4 and was 3rd, so he was all conference. In the 2, Corey Weefing, a freshman, coming up with the conference championship. We also had Elliot Martinkevich, was all conference in the 5K for us, sorry. And then great relays. Our 4x4 went out there in place, so a lot of great performances on our men's side as well.
So all of those come together. Looking at both of them as one, as the head coach for both of them, how happy were you? I know the men's team had a 9th place finish, but as you say, the depth really doesn't put you in a team competition too much. So putting that aside, collectively as individuals, what were your thoughts on both the men and women at ESU?
Like you said, I always look at the team finish because I want to know, but I have to remind myself that we just don't have the numbers. We have some very talented individuals. And yes, I think we exceeded our expectations again this year, which is great. We'll keep looking to have more national qualifiers and stuff like that, but we had a lot of, if you read through the news stories and stuff, a lot of season bests and personal records at the conference meet, and you can't ask for anything more than that.
Certainly, you're racing your best at the right time at the PSACs. For the women, we just talked about this before we went on the air, is that you have 2 out of the 3 seasons. You're moving with the women's team. You got the indoor season and the outdoor season. Putting all of them together, did you see a lot of growth? Was there someone that really stood out that, from the beginning, back when you started in mid-December, when you had those first few home meets in the Dome, to now with the PSACs that really grew as an athlete?
Well, I would say our freshmen showed a lot of growth, which you always hope that freshmen do because they're coming out, but a lot of people kind of hit the freshman slump that they don't even do as well as they did in high school. But, the college season is a lot longer and such like that. Becca Bond was huge for us. She placed in the 1500, the 800, and was legs on both our 4x8 and 4x4. So you're going to talk about somebody that got used a lot this weekend. But she took huge strides for us, and I'm sorry I missed her earlier. She was all conference performer in the 1500. Eve Gardner went from not qualifying for the indoor conference meet as an individual to qualifying for the 400 as an individual outdoors. So anytime we have kids doing that, that's big to see them getting better as it goes on. And so, I think those freshman girls really stepped up. So it's very exciting to look and see what they'll be able to do in these next few years.
Certainly, and especially coming into the next season, as a few Scots will hopefully qualify for nationals, find that out in the upcoming days, and then you'll head down for nationals in a few weeks, and then before you know it, Coach, it's the indoor season. You don't get a lot of off season, do you?
No, we don't, because majority of our team will go into cross country before,
True. So they're 3-season athletes. You're 2 out of the 3 seasons.
Right.
So you're moving along, and and then of course you have to deal with me doing the show every week, Coach.
Hey, that's all right. I should just put it on my schedule.
We appreciate it every week, Coach,
you.
and congratulations on the season, and good luck at nationals with the individuals that make it.
Thank you very much.
So other than the track and field team, there is one other Borough squad still in season. We'll talk about them next. The men's tennis team was still playing as the Fighting Scots lost in the NCAA Division II Atlantic Region 1 Championship earlier this week by losing to top-seeded Bluefield State 5-0. That ends the Scots season after claiming the PSAC crown. Now we head back to the track team for this week's Scots of the Week. Congratulations to Corey Weefing and Allison Gibbons of the men's and women's track and field teams for being named this week's male and female Scots of the Week. Weefing won the 800-meter run and helped the 4x400-meter relay team finish 5th to highlight his weekend at the PSAC Championships. Gibbons took 3rd in the 800-meter run, earning all PSAC honors, and also was part of the 4x8-meter relay, which finished 3rd as well. Here are excerpts with my interviews with the two. The sun and the good weather certainly helped you out. A 152 in the 800, a personal best for you. Also won the event, so it was the best time for men in the PSACs. What was your goal coming into that one? Was winning it, being on the top of the stand for the 800, the end goal?
Yeah, I mean, really going into it, my focus was top 3, like an all PSAC honor. But as I was looking at the guys in my races more, I really thought about how I could win this race, and I shouldn't count myself out of it. So first place is definitely always the goal when you're going into a close race like that. So.
Certain to the relay, you were the last leg in the relay. I was just told by athletic director Todd J that the team was 8th when it was when you stepped up to the spotlight, and then you got them all the way to 3rd. So, kind of want to explain that Herculean performance a little bit?
Well, initially going into the race, the 4 of us on the team, or the relay, we kind of just were like, okay, well, we just need to do what we need to do. Basically, we just kind of wanted to score points and just see what we could do. But they gave me the baton in contact position with everyone else in the field pretty much, so I just kind of caught up to everyone as fast as I could, and then somehow end up passing people. I don't know. I wasn't really I didn't really know where we were at, actually, getting the baton, and then when we finished, I originally thought we got 4th, but then I realized we were 3rd.
It's awesome. That's all the show for this week and for this year. Thanks for watching and supporting Edinboro's student athletes all year long. We will be back in September. Go Borough.